Every day, women are ruining good relationships with men without even knowing it, and I'm here to put a stop to it. Every time you explain your feelings over and over again, every time you text them back within minutes, every time you try to fix it by just communicating better, you're actually pushing them away. And I know that sounds backwards. It actually sounds wrong. It's like, what are we, cavemen these days? But I want you to have the best relationships possible, and I want you to finally speak the male language so you understand what's going on in his mind, because the women that guys are really obsessed with, they're doing something shocking. They're saying less, and not in the like, shut up and don't say anything. No, they are being beautifully mysterious. And I'm going to explain this all very soon. So you've been told oftentimes, be agreeable, be accommodating, endlessly understanding to this guy. And this is why oftentimes we're feeling exhausted, undervalued in relationships. And it's why he's oftentimes not investing in you. High value women do not speak the way that society tells them they should speak. They speak like queens. They're warm, but they're firm. They have boundaries. They're kind, but they're also clear. Their standards make the right men feel like, oh, I found something rare and I need to elevate my game in order to appreciate you. So if you're over explaining your worth, if you're softening your boundaries, if you're giving him girlfriend treatment before he's earned it, if you're tiptoeing around his feelings while ignoring your own, that pattern keeps so many amazing women stuck in almost relationships. Because here's the truth. How you talk in the first few conversations, the first few dates you have with him decides whether he's going to pursue you or he's going to like keep you around as some kind of placeholder girlfriend, which we don't want for you. And this isn't about mind games. This isn't about being fake. If you look at my beautiful drawing, that's a magnet, by the way. I know that looks like maybe a telephone, but that's you attracting him because these first few conversations are so important. It's about unlocking your inner voice that naturally commands respect, builds attraction, and inspires real devotion. That beautiful queen-like energy that you all have, that feminine drive that you have, we're going to unlock it. And we're going to break this down with psychology. This isn't just some woo-woo aura stuff. Behind this magnetic conversation, we're going to break down the old advice that often puts people behind and the energy and presence that changes the way that men ultimately treat you. So if you're tired of the uphill talks, of giving more than you get, and you're ready for a style that makes the right man lean into you and listen and lock you down, this is it. So let's talk about what makes her magnetic, becoming her, so to speak. You know, that's very in vogue these days. And a high value woman, she's not chasing approval, right? She is the approval because she is the prize. She speaks from emotional security. Her worth doesn't rise and fall with his response. Her confidence doesn't depend on his move. Her peace isn't shaken by his silence. She is detached in the way that she knows she's super valuable, and she doesn't have to talk. She doesn't have to like convince this guy, trick him into giving you attention, validation, promises. She shares her truth to connect. She doesn't care if people don't agree with her. She's magnetic, right? So being magnetic, you draw a lot of people in, and you also push people away. We want to push out the time wasters, the red flags. Her energy naturally says, I have options, without her being like, oh, and by the way, like a lot of guys like me. No, because when you have to say it, it doesn't feel as valid. She has the energy that she has options. She can walk away when something doesn't serve her, and she's not trying to like force some guy into a situation that he doesn't want to be in, because the right woman walks away from that. She doesn't undershare also to fake mystery. She shares what feels honest in the moment and trusts that the right person will value it. And you can go back to my other video. There are a few things you do not want to share immediately. You can go to my other video for that. And she doesn't try to be understood by everyone. Again, she's magnetic in the sense that she actually objectively pushes people away and draws in the right people. So her tone is really confident, and she never really puts up with bad behavior because she knows that giving a guy's attention, like actually crashing out, that's what the kids are calling, like when you scream at somebody, as actually giving him energy, it actually shows that you care way more about him. So let's get into some of the 5 communication mistakes, and we can get a little bit deeper into this subject. 5 comms mistakes. And everyone's saying they love my speaking voice. Is 1, she is speaking with emotional urgency. You feel you have to respond right now. Oh, he just texted me, I gotta respond right now. You push heavy talks oftentimes at some of the worst times, and your urgency for a relationship almost feels in a place of insecurity. Not that it's wrong to date with intention. You should date with intention. But sometimes it feels like people are pushing forward the timeline because they feel like, oh, I've been burned so many times before. You have to have this calmness under pressure where you're almost, and they used to teach us this in sales, is you're assuming the close. You assume that guys are going to commit to you because you are deserving of commitment. We have to change our inner self in order to have that projection, so that the energy we're pushing out really teaches guys how to respect us. Another mistake is explaining your worth, right? And funny enough, all the sales principles always come back around to dating. So if you have to say like, I'm so important, that kind of person doesn't sound as important. When you have to justify your boundaries, when you constantly have to argue for basic respect, if you have to explain your value, it often comes off as that you do not fully believe it. And if you go to my boundary setting videos, we do believe in hard or strong feminine values. Or strong feminine boundaries. You should have boundaries. But a high value woman embodies her standards. She doesn't need to lecture guys. And if she needs to lecture guys, that guy is not worth it. All right, let's talk about mirroring. Mirroring. Low effort. He texts you less, so you text less. He pulls back, so you pull back. Now you guys are both waiting. Nothing is growing. A high value woman stays consistent with her standards. Then she watches whether he actually rises to meet him. Because if a guy's giving you low investment, let's focus on a new guy, because that's what a high value woman, a queen would not put up with some guy that's like barely courting her. We want to stop ourselves from being attracted to hot and cold treatment. That is not good. All right, let's talk about framing. Framing as complaints. So, you never call. You don't try. These defense triggers, these like calling him out on low effort behavior, and sometimes we do need to do it. But if we're doing it too early on, it's like we do not expect that treatment. Ultimately, our biggest value is our ability to walk away. And instead of, this kind of like, you never call, you don't try, that blaming language, we can substitute it with things that reward good behavior. So I feel closer when we plan our week on Sundays. Want to try that? Like, I feel closer when you make us a reservation ahead of time instead of blaming, instead of using this language that actually pushes him farther away. And hey, trust me, if a guy's not making dates, he's not doing anything that you want, do walk away. All right, let's talk about no boundaries. No boundaries, because boundaries are so freaking important in relationships, because we teach people, our energy one teaches people how to treat us, and not having boundaries in conversations is super important. So I want you to only text this guy during business hours, and we could call that 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. You shouldn't be available at all hours of the night to talk to someone. Again, this changes if you're in a relationship with somebody, but a lot of the women that I'm with, they're not like fully in that relationship, or they're maybe in a situationship. Do not tolerate rude tone. Do not tolerate some passive aggressive guy that doesn't respect you, that doesn't change. Your boundaries are not to shut people out, although they do serve that purpose. They're actually to invite the right people in, to use it as a natural filter to bring in the right guys that actually are good for you. And I really like that one of like the boundary of only respond during business hours. You don't have to respond immediately. He didn't earn that yet. And why this works psychologically is guys are drawn to, a balance of comfort, comfort. I'm going to put versus the spark, but it's not necessarily true. Value versus the spark. So like he wants to feel like high spark for you initially. Guys need to not feel like you're too comfy, you're too attainable too early. So you don't want to be like too comfy initially, because that can come off as boring, but you also don't want to be too chaotic in the sense that it's draining. High value energy is kind of grounded. You are who you are in a sense that like you bring him in. And guys are really attracted to women who know their worth, but don't have to, scream it from a megaphone, because somebody that needs to scream it from a megaphone, again, like that isn't stable energy. That isn't the energy of somebody that's used to getting it, right? So you want to have this challenge factor to you where it takes some effort to get into your good graces. You're warm, you're open, yet you have these standards that make him kind of pursue you, because your energy is very contagious. If you have really good energy, guys will come out of the woodwork to come to you. And this is why I spend so much time in my community focused on like, how do we build up your energy? How do we rewrite those past limiting love stories and these past limiting beliefs, these past anxieties? Because having positive energy is so good, because guys, they don't commit to women they like. They commit to women they feel like they can't get anywhere else. And that comes from your energy. It's not the women that are the most attractive, the most young, the most whatever thing that people usually think. It is 100% an energy thing. Will you ever talk with somebody and you come away from that conversation, you're like, man, I just feel so much better? On the opposite, have you ever come away from a conversation where you're like, oh, the person was so melancholy, they complained, they gossiped the whole time, they were so negative, I wonder what they say about me behind my back? That is a draining energy, and we need to push that out of our vocabulary.